Okay, so yes, husband died. Oh, so great. And then what happens after it? Some of the myth coming into play. First of all, Maria is Sabine. I didn't call that one. I was really hoping to learn more about Sabine, but I get it, which kind of supports my thoughts that she is also Lottie. Alice, totally a vampire now too, and that poor guy who tried to help her, the poor guy, poor girl, I mean, she doesn't know what's going on. I'm a little bit surprised, but now Sabine / Maria has met up with some other vampires, and I'm interested to see what comes of this. Okay, I am at tout le jour. I'm gonna go meet my friend, and we're gonna do some writing, so yay. So listen, I'm in my car. I have a really bad feeling, and I just want to document the fact that I have a really bad feeling about Sabine being with these two people and having to promise to stay with them. Well, Maria, Sabine. Bad feelings, especially going after the church and the threat of being staked and burning to death. I mean, the burning to death in the church and shit. Bad feeling. Just want to document that. Okay, gonna go back to reading. Okay, so I was correct. The fire was a thing, and her being promised to them both being tricked was foretelling the church. It's all foretelling, all foreshadowing, definitely. Didn't get as gruesome as I thought it might, as I would have written it, but that's okay. That wasn't the point. What I like to follow through on this, I like the kind of toxic nature of the people Marie tends to be around, and the vampires in general, and how the lore has changed vampire-wise. We'll talk about that at the end, but because I study vampires, I really love all the little things that she's putting in there that connect but aren't quite traditional, which I'm here for. I'm here for it. Comment on it, make it new. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go back to reading. Okay, Alice hunting. I just want to make a side note here. Love it. Love how different she is from Maria. Like, she doesn't want to hurt anybody unless they're bad, but also comes across the male gaze in the predator versus prey, and of course women being the prey, but her really being the predator. I like how that's mirrored in here in two very, very different personalities. So yes, I'm here for it. Okay. I just finished the section, and I think Sabine / Maria is a bit sadistic. Okay, the game was interesting. Lent was interesting. Her hunting this girl and then like killing her after 10 days, and it being even sweeter and like more for her, etc. Interesting. Sick. I liked it. Interesting. I like the kind of games that they play. I like when he taught her how to take space and make it hers in order to use power. That was pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know. We'll talk more about stuff. Okay, I'll be back in a second for you. A couple, probably day or so for me, and we'll analyze. Okay, so Maria becoming Sabine. First of all, as we saw, did not call that one whatsoever. It's fine. I like not calling things. I mean, I like being right, but I also like surprises. This was a fun surprise. I also feel like it predicts that I'm also right about Lottie, so like I will take it. Her changing herself every once in a while. Also supported by the mentorship she receives at the end of the section. Makes me think that she's also learned to like curb her behavior, etc., in a way that Lottie did, and especially with the keeping of the tokens and her writing names and little descriptions in the back of the book. All these things scream Maria to me. Sabine, Lottie, whomever she is now. Okay. I also really like that she does take those things, because you live a long life and you want those tokens, something tangible to keep with you and remind you of that person when their life is gone. It's also symbolic. Especially for her character, and I like that, especially because she doesn't get to keep the things about the people she loves. So it makes sense to want to keep the people, or keep the things from the people that give her life. I don't know. There's some kind of kismet, nice poetic justice to that. I like the connection. I like the behavior. I like the little tick, even though she's made fun of a little bit for it by the other vampires. Now, the play on vampire myths was a lot of fun. I like that they don't go, burn up in the sun, but they get really tired. That's a pretty common one. Sometimes you see one or the other, but sun being a weakness is definitely a good thing. It also creates tension for her and her mentors, all three of them, and the different, ways. I like that her first set of mentors and her were like acting as inquisitors for the church, the Inquisition, and killing church people and stuff, because, you know, it's supposed to be religion repels vampires. They even like say, oh, we're called this, we're called this, we're called vampires, whatever, that's not what we are this. I really like that they played on that, because there is what we think of as the traditional vampire that is repelled by mythical religious objects, and it really depends on faith for a lot of them, but a large chunk of our current vampires are created around that myth, and that's really interesting that she both included and played with it and was like, hey, no, that's not what this is. I liked the mirror myth, that they could see themselves in the mirror. I really like that Alice was like, too bad this isn't making me any prettier. Where's the magic from becoming a vampire immortal? Totally get that one too. That's played with a lot. Being able to enter someone's house without permission, that was totally done, and there's a whole bit of magic about that and a whole bit of mentorship about that I really, really like. And watching her gain space and like, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, until she owns the whole room, and like step by step you own the whole city like Mateo does. I really like that, especially that a man, well, to be fair, a gay man, but still a man in a society where men are in charge, giving that to a woman and making her able to feel like she owns a space on her own, and the kind of freedom that gives her. I really like the symbolism in there with all the other themes that we have going on. Are there others? There probably are that I'm just not seeing at the moment, but I really like the crying blood tears. That one was also pretty cool. The consistent hunger that never ends is also a very big traditional vampire myth. The burning alive, being staked in the heart. Of course, anything killing the heart. It doesn't matter if it's wood or if it's metal or if it's this or that. I really liked that planet too, especially with the foreshadowing of the fire, and that fire's the worst way to go because the heart burns last, and that of course happening to the two mentors who were rather ruthless, along with Maria. I mean, Maria was ruthless enough to like just consume, but they seemed to like amp her up and make her more monstrous. I like that she got away from them, especially after they tricked her into promising to be with them, and that whole being bound to a promise as a vampire, that was pretty cool. I haven't seen that a lot. I don't know if I've seen that anywhere else, but I like that I saw that there. I'm gonna have to go searching to see if that's a traditional one or if she made that one up for this. Anyways, as always, she uses excellent language. She's very lyrical about what that hunger and that longing and the lusting after blood, and when you finally get it, the like elation that the vampires feel. It's all very poetically written, and I really like how she did that, how it made it feel much more soulful instead of vicious and violent and gory. Like, it's actually, she did a really good job of making it beautiful in a way, if that makes sense. I also really enjoyed Alice's transformation during this. So obviously she transformed into a vampire. We saw that too. And I even liked the little bit where the guy perks up when she comes to talk to him, and then is deflated when she's asking about a girl. I like how she stood up for herself after being called a dyke, how she turned from prey to predator, and woman usually being the prey of men, because it's shown again when she's picked up by the guy, and the guy she kills, and her thoughts that I want to hurt somebody bad, which is completely different from what Maria wanted, or Sabine wanted. So I really liked that play on her essentially taking ownership of the space that she inhabits instead of apologizing for the space that she inhabits, and I really, really like that, because I feel like a lot of women do that, and it's again, this is a lot of commentary on how women are treated, both past and present and likely future, gender roles and the dynamics, the physical differences between men and women, the psychological differences between men and women, and all that kind of thing, the societal expectations, all the things. It's a really interesting metaphor for Alice and Maria to kind of inhabit these two types of women that become their own thing. Like, they become their own independent, I guess, predators. They're the top of the food chain. They become themselves and don't need to apologize for being who they are. It really sucks that Alice had to like become something new to be able to find that, but I feel like that's kind of what happens even if we're the ones changing ourselves. So again, really good metaphor, lots of layers there. I like how she layers things. And then there's the darkness of Caddy, the sister, the older sister, breaking things, the licking blood off of her hand, all of those things that show her as this dark, violent, very emotional turmoil force, and her railing against her family growing in a different way because her mom's gone. You know, she's not our mom, we have a mom. You can have more than one mom, and I know that's maybe not how everybody feels, but like that obviously Kenny doesn't feel that way. But I mean, I had two dads, so, and like my stepdad was one of my dads. Was it the same as like my dad? My dad's still awesome, but that didn't mean that my stepdad didn't act like a dad to me, and that I don't miss him like a dad, you know. So I don't know, there's layers there to play with too, especially with the kid, and I'm really wondering what happens to her, because we're setting this up. All of her memories seem to revolve around her sister, so we are setting us up for something. We're setting us up for something. I don't know what it is. I don't need to know what it is, but it's coming. And finally, like the last bit we get with Sabine, Maria, and her learning to hunt and to let herself be hungry and making it all the sweeter and playing games and getting to know that girl during Carnival, the 10 days of teasing herself with this woman's presence, as well as having that like sexual gratification of liking women and getting to spend time with her and be cuddly and giggly and all these other things with her that she doesn't get otherwise, even under the pretense of being a predator and going to kill her. And then that sweetness at the end of her actually getting to do that, which I mean is terrible at the same time, but you know, I like the play on that and how she gets to fulfill herself in more than one way with these hunted victims, these women that she gets to spend time with and know. And I like the darkness of her saying it makes it all the sweeter to know them more. Kind of serial killer vibes going on there, but anyways, I like the juxtaposition of the running wild versus the learning control of the self and getting to stay in place. So running wild, being free, always on the run, versus controlling the self and getting to establish roots. Very interesting. I don't really have Kitty. I don't really have too many predictions other than something's gonna happen to Caddy. I'm just here for the ride. I'm so sorry about my cat. Anyways, let me know if you have predictions, if you have thoughts, if you noticed anything, even if it's along the lines of something I noticed or completely different from the things that I noticed. Let me know about those in the comments below, because I'd love to hear your reactions to this book as we continue going. And we will be, where are we reading up to next? We'll be reading up to 378. So I think we have a couple sections. So through the first Charlotte section. So we have Charlotte's section and it comes up to Alice, and this is where we'll be ending for next week. But read along, week 2, done. I will see you next week for the next bit. Bye.